On this episode of Athletes Forum Podcast, the AFLE, they have a new team. We also have the first international signing. Ben Holmes, he made some comments I want to talk about. And we're going to do our first team preview of the offseason. Let's get it. Sir. Athletes Forum Podcast, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for coming back. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, let me know what you think, and let's get right into it, right? Hey, kind of what's going on right now in the European media, digital content atmosphere, right? This is Tuesday, right? So we're back in the action, Athletes Forum Podcast. My guy, Matt Breslington, just dropped a banging video in regards to what each EFA team needs. And if you can kind of see the trend and where his videos are going, you'll know what league he's covering, right? We got the Fourth Down Fiasco boys, right? Batting up next, dropping the show Wednesday. And First Down Magazine just had a great interview. I encourage you guys to all check it out. I won't spoil it too much, but definitely go look into that. So today, Athletes Forum Podcast, we're going to dive into some things, right? Italy, welcome back to the mix, right? There's some new signings in AFLE. Ben Holmes, right, has his opinion on, a couple things, maybe a certain thing, and we're going to do our first team preview this offseason, right? So without further ado, there's been some news that just dropped, right? The AFLE is going to Italy, right, to expand in regards to their teams, right? We are bringing in an Italian football team to the AFLE, right? By the looks of the graphics, it looks like this is going to be a team in Florence, right? This is Guelph territory. So believe it or not, that wasn't even the most shocking, surprising news of the announcement. In my opinion, it was the fact that General Manager Bart Encarnacion. Hold on. I don't want to mess up the name, so just give me 1 second while we get the correct pronunciation, right? Bart Encarnacion. I don't want to mess it up, man. Let's see what we got here. Iaccarino, right? Bart Iaccarino is back in the mix on one of the biggest stages in Europe, running a team. Now, obviously, if you know Bart, in regards to like this type of stage, you know him from the Barcelona Dragon days, right? Now, his track record, how to build that team or how to build this Italian team, his reputation, regardless of what he's done, people are only going to remember him from those first 2 years in Barcelona. And we all remember the 2022 Barcelona team. We also remember what this team looked like past that and not being able to retain those players for a number of reasons. I'm not diving into that. But, my questions, for Bart is, what did Bart learn from that experience that he's going to implement or change some things going into running the Italian football team in the AFLE? How will he win over those homegrowns? Because remember, you're only as good as your homegrowns, right? How is he going to be able to win and convince, especially when there's a great Italian team in that area playing in the Italian Football League, and they just won the championship last year, right? What will this franchise look like after they learn from the Milano experience? And not to mention, is this team structured? Are they aligned? Are they committed to playing the long-term game, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how the Italian football team comes to play in the AFLE. But what can we say? We'll see how it all pans out. Florence, welcome, right? Welcome. Benvendijo. Don't judge me on my pronunciations, right? Who are you? All right. Let's dive into some signings, all right? 2 big signings have happened as of late. And when I do my team preview, we'll dive into, some more team-specific things. But we have our first international signing in the AFLE. Dylan St. Pierre, tight end, played in the CFL. He is signing with the Russell Panthers. Now, this is good. This is good signing for Jameson Wing to have a security blanket, right? Someone who could win on those intermediate routes against those linebackers and threaten the middle. Not to mention you have Mike Harley Jr. and Otto Altender as well too, right? And you got David Brzozowski. So I like what the Panthers are kind of doing. I've actually liked their offseason and what they've been able to do and build. And it's going to be it's going to be fun to watch Dave Likens and Coach Tomlin and how those two masterminds. Remember when they were in New Yorker, they ran the table for a while before the Unicorns came into play. How those two masterminds do on this stage going forward with the talent that they're bringing in. Not to mention, speaking of the Panthers, they lose a receiver. All right, Darryl Stewart Jr., D. Stu, is going to Vienna. Now, this is an interesting signing because Vienna, when you think about like their receivers, their A receivers, Reese Horn, as of late, guys like that have usually played in the slot. Darryl Stewart, or D. Stu, as I'm going to call him, mostly an outside receiver, right? So is it going to be him and Noah on the outsides, Noah Toure, and then now we kind of see or find out who's going to work the middle? It's going to be curious to see, but Ben Holmes gets another weapon, dynamic weapon, different weapon from what he's had the past 2 years, right? But needless to say, they're going to have fun. They're going to have fun in this league, and I can't lie. I kind of like some of the talent coming to the AFLE, right? When you look around at some of the teams, the Rams and the guys that they're bringing in, Rostov's having a great year. Vienna's doing their thing. Ryan Fire. I kind of like some of the talent, right? Kind of like some of the talent. So it's going to be interesting to see how the product comes into play. Because don't get it twisted, right? There's not enough room in Europe for two dominant leagues. One of these leagues between the AFLE or the EFA is going to drop out. And when I say drop out, I don't mean drop out like they're going to be gone or not next year. I mean drop out where they're not going to be the big dog, right? They're going to be working the CEFL territory and GFL territory. That's just another good league. I hate to say it. So the product is going to play a big part in regards to their reputation. So I'm going to be excited to see who's going to rise to the top. All right, like I said, I like some of the talent that's going to the AFLE. Might be a little bit more balanced in the EFA side, so we'll see how it pans out. Ben Holmes, my guy. Hey, I love Ben Holmes. I was, selfish or whatever you want to call it. I was one of the first to interview Ben Holmes, right? So self-plug, right? One of the first to interview Ben Holmes when he signed with Vienna, got to know him a little bit, saw him, and obviously communicated with him, through the years, and obviously this experience, this journey that not only him but his family has been a part of as well too. That's been awesome. That's been awesome to see. Ben Holmes has some comments. Ben Holmes has some comments in regards to legitimacy, and he has an opinion, right? He has a right to his opinion, but let's pull the graphic up. As you can see here, Ben Holmes said, you can't be considered a real contender until you play Vienna or Rhine, or you got to go through them. What do you guys think about that? Drop a comment. This is the moment in the show where we start loading up the comment box, right? Where we start getting those fingers typing away. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. How do we feel about Ben Holmes saying that you can't be legit unless you go through Vienna or Fire? Winners of the last, 2, 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5, whatever the years are, 3 out of 4, right? Yep, 3 out of 4 because if we're dating back history now, we went Frankfurt, Vienna, Rhine. I might be missing a team in there. I don't know. But needless to say, you can't be legit unless you go through Vienna or the Rhine Fire. I can kind of flip that and say, have you really been tested if you've only gone through 1 or 2 as of right now competitive teams? When you think about what the EFA or what the AFLE is in regards to, I think they're top heavy, right? Vienna, Rhine. I don't know what Paris is going to look like. I don't know what Monaco's going to look like, which is still rumors, right? Alpine, I kind of like the team that they're building. Still need a quarterback. Still need more homegrowns. Still need an offensive line, right? This, the Paris Lights, right? Who's leaving the Musketeers to go to the Paris Lights? I guess we got to wait to kind of see how that pans out, right? So the AFLE is top heavy, right? EFA, I think, is more balanced. So you can make an argument that EFA is going through a harder road to the championship versus in the AFLE, you may only get like 4 games out of the season where you're truly tested, right? So it's gonna be so interesting to watch how this all unfolds, right? But Ben Holmes has a comment. My man dropped it like it was hot, right? Can you be considered legitimate not playing the Ryan Fire, not playing the Vienna Vikings? Drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about that. All right. Last topic we want to dive into. Our first team preview of the offseason heading into whenever the season is going to kick off. We don't know when the season is going to kick off. Whenever the season is going to kick off, right, we'll be ready for it. But until then, let's preview some teams, all right? Is playing for the Prague Lions the cool thing to do right now? Are they the cool kids to be around? That's probably something we couldn't say a couple years ago when they first joined the ELF. They had the season that they had. It's documented. There's no need to harp on that. And they've gotten better. You see the season that they just had, right? 7-5 record, almost made the playoffs. A lot of big and good quality wins. One of the best defenses in the league, ran by James Brooke, now defensive coordinator, right? Especially in the pass defense. Number 1 in quarterback QBR, all right? Number 1 in turnovers or takeaways. Number 1 in yards per completion, right? This is a team led by Frutero and Ken Hike. Both had 5 interceptions. Arthur Kingdom, defensive rookie of the year. This team ate. This team got busy, right? So now as we transition to another year, are the Prague Lions the cool team to play for, right? Let's talk about it. James Brooke, new head coach. You got to love the coaching staff he's putting together. First of all, Fred Armstrong, hell of a hire. You know what he's going to want to do. He's going to want to pound that rock. So Adam Tuzelka, get ready. I won't be surprised they even get another running back in the mix, right? Fred Armstrong's going to run that ball. He's going to build a bully on offense, right? Who else you got? You got Malik Jackson, DB coach, just came from Munich. Michael Taylor, go Gators. Former linebacker for Florida, played some time in the X League. Now he's coming over to coach the linebackers for the Prague Lions defense. Reggie Mitchell, right? Phil Hinckley coaching the quarterbacks, right? This is a strong staff that the Prague Lions are building. And what do they do? As of right now, currently on paper, they are, I'm going to say, a better team than what they were last year on paper. Now they got some holes, right? And if you're worried about what those holes are, head over to Matt Bresington's latest episode where he talked about each need for each EFA team. But you think about some of the key signings, right? The playmakers alone. Willie P's coming back. Redem Kalus is coming back, who missed most of last year with injuries, right? Lucas Cadillac is back in the mix. Adam Zuzelka. We've already talked about a lot of those guys coming back, right? O-line. They build a young and aggressive O-line. And I'm going to get into some names here, right? First, Isaiah Kelberg, athletic guard. Athletic guard who could move, who could pull. I like that guy a lot. Daniel Bisanami, tackle. He'll probably play tackle, right? He's a little stiff, but when he gets his hands on you, it's over. It's night. Miguel Kimenyanka, right? Another guy throws people out the clubs. My bad if I'm messing up the names, but you get those guys to pair up with Jasper Freeze. It's a bully of an offensive line. Now they just got to build some depth, but that's a bully of an offensive line. Jalen Henderson returning at quarterback, a motivated Jalen Henderson, obviously wanting to prove last year in Paris wasn't the real. It didn't meet expectations, but there were a lot going on that, again, if you follow this league, you know about in regards to, play calling and I don't know, it just felt weird last year for Paris, right? Maybe they were kind of battling of meeting the expectations or life after Zach. Hashtag Zach is back. Episode for another day. But you get motivated Jalen Henderson, right? He's not going to have this whole offense on him, right? Because, again, Fred Armstrong's going to run the ball, right? And Jalen Henderson operating off the play action, again, with all the receivers we just named, Prague got some dogs. On the defensive side, listen, defensive line is still pretty slim at the moment, right? They still got to make some moves. And granted, this roster is not completely full. It's not even near capacity, right? So the defensive line is something that's still a work in process. You lose Arthur Kingdom, but you bring back Alexander Barkovic, right? Play for Prague. Went the Anthroners, is back now with Prague. I don't think they'll miss a beat in regards to the type of athleticism and player Alex is compared to Arthur. right? Their DBs, Wes Guilford, Ken Hike, they're coming back. Now, not to mention, you add Miles Ishik to the mix as well, too, right? And you get Hondo Chris back as well, too, right? Probably one of the most underrated tacklers, right, in EFA, ELF last year, whatever you want to call it, right? So, again, I like the back seven in regards to talent and speed and athleticism, right? The up front is where we're gonna have some issues, but again, we're waiting to see what they're gonna do there. Is James Brooks still gonna call the defense, right? And how that's gonna look. So it's gonna be interesting to see. On paper, again, Prague Lions better right now on paper. I like them a lot on paper right now than last year, and I liked them last year. I was a fan of them last year, right? Some questions going into it. We already talked about how will they hold up front. We'll wait to see how that pans out. How quick can this offense come together when it comes to chemistry, when it comes to Jalen Henderson, his receivers, right? How quick can they come together, right? Get in rhythm, right? And start playing top-notch ball. Even the O-line has to come together because that O-line, you got to move as a unit. So how that come together? And lastly, James Brooks, transition from player to head coach, defensive coordinator. Now from D coordinator to head coach. The biggest thing is now you're calling the game. You're not just calling the side of the ball. So how will that look? How will that come into play? He's surrounded by a lot of great guys. I'm sure it's going to be an easy transition, but something to keep an eye out for. So as I rephrase the question, Prague Lions, is this the cool team to play for now, right? They're going to have their hands full because this is going to be a competitive league. But drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Athletes Forum Podcast every Tuesday going forward on Athletes Forum Podcast and First Down Magazine.